You have seen the aggregate functions and how those functions work on MySQL. So whenever we have used the functions would work on a specific column over the whole table. For example, whenever we have used the max function on CGPA, it returned the maximum CGPA from this column, from the whole table. So that means it returns the CGPA of the university. But what if you want to see the maximum CGPA in CSE department, not the whole university? So that means you have to apply the max function in the CGPA column, but not for all rows. You want to apply the max function only on those rows where the major is CSE. Only on those rows where the major is CSE. So how do you do this? So here the concept group by comes. So group by divides a table into multiple subtables based on the value of a specific column. Say if we want to group this whole table based on the values of major, so what does it do? It will first find the distinct values of major. How many distinct values are there? So there are three distinct values. One is CS, another is CSE, and the third one is ECE. There is only three distinct values. So that means the whole table will be divided into three subtables. The first subtable contains all the rows where major is CS. The second subtable that will contain all the rows where the major will be CSE. And the third subtable will contain all the rows where the major is ECE. So group by divides your whole table into some subtables, and then the aggregate functions will be applied on those subtables individually. So we can use group by to apply some aggregate functions on subtables rather than the whole table. Let us see an example. So here in this photo you can see an example. This is a table. This is the author table. These are the author ID, and this is the country. So what we will do, we will count the number of authors from each country. So that means we will divide the table, or we will group the table based on the value of this country column. So in country there are 2 Australia, 1 Brazil, 2 Canada, 1 Germany. So in this way this table will be divided. In how many parts the table will be divided? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The table will be grouped into 7 groups, and on each group the count function will be applied. Count is a MySQL function. This function counts the number of rows in a table. So that means this is a group, this will be a group, and if the count function is applied on this group, it will return 2, as there are only 2 rows in this group. And for the Brazil group it will return 1, for the Canada group it will return 2, for Germany 1, for India 1, for UK there are 4 rows, so it will return 4, for USA it will return 4. So you can see the output. So we have grouped or divided this table based on the values of country. So these are the unique values in the country column, and this will return the count in each group. In Australia group there are 2 rows, in Brazil group there are 1 rows, in this way. So this is how group by works. Group by first divides the table into groups and then apply the aggregate functions on those groups individually. Okay, so let us see the maximum CGPA of each department. That means we want to divide this table into the number of department. That means here there are 3 departments, so we want to divide into 3 parts or 3 groups, and then we want to apply maximum CGPA on those groups. So how we will write the query? Let us see the query. So I have written the query. This query, at first the group by clause will be executed. That means the table will be grouped by major, the values, distinct values of major. Then on every group, this will be selected, the major and the maximum CGPA. So what will it return? It will return the major and the maximum CGPA from each group. So this is how group by works. So let us now see another MySQL function, the function that is provided by MySQL, that is count. Count returns the number of rows in a table. So for example, let us write this. So what does this query will return? This query will count the number of rows in the lab grades table. So how many rows in this table, that will be returned. So see, the output is 8. There are 8 rows. So if we want to see the number of students in each department or in each major, how would you do that? Just think. Now your aggregate function is count, and you want to apply on lab grades but not on the whole table, but you want to apply this function on the groups. The groups means the groups will be created from major using the distinct values of major. So that means you will divide or group the table by major, and on each group you will apply count star. So let us write the query. So this query will group the table first and then will apply this select clause on those group individually. See, in CS there are 3 students, in CS there are 3 students, and EC there are 2 students. So this is how you can use the group by clause to divide or group your table and apply aggregate functions individually on those groups. So I hope the group by clause is clear. So let us now complicate the query a little bit. Say now I am asking you to count the students from each department who has days present less than 10. That means who are irregular student in each department, the number of irregular student in each department. By irregular I mean whose days present are less than 10. That means who are present less than 10 days. So that means you want to select the major, and also you want to count from each group, and the group will be created by major. But now, do you want to count all the students from each department? I mean, do you want to count all the students from CSE and all the students from CS? No, you only want to count the irregular students from each major. So that means you have to add a clause before group by. That means before grouping, you will filter the rows. So we know we can filter rows from a table using where clause. So using where clause, you will select only the rows which are less than 10, and on those rows you will apply group by. Saying the thing again, we don't want to group the whole table. We want to group on some rows of the table or some parts of the table. That means we have to filter the table. By which condition? By checking if the days present are less than 10. So by checking this condition, we will filter the table, and on the filtered table we will apply group by, so that we can count only the irregular students, not the regular student. So let us see the query. Oh, my bad. See, now the count is different. Why? This in CS there is count 1. Why? In CS there is only one student who is present less than 10 days, and this student he is from ECE, and this student he is from CSE. So that means the number of irregular students in each department is counted. So here the key point is this clause. I have added this clause before group by. Why? Because this clause helps you to filter the table. This clause helps you to keep only the rows on, or only the students who are irregular or who are present less than 10 days, and on those students you are applying group by, or you are grouping the table according to the department or major. So this is how you can use where clause with group by in the MySQL. What if you want to filter information after applying group by, not the main table? That means if you want to see those departments where the count is greater than 2, or the number of students is greater than 2. I am repeating the question again. You want to see the departments, or you want to see the major where the number of students is greater than 2. So that means first of all you have to find the number of students for each major, and then you have to check if the number of students in each major is greater than 2 or not. That means you are checking the condition after group by. So let us write the query. Okay, so I have written a query. This query means this is clear. We have applied the same query here. It returns the major and the count in each major, the number of students in each major. But now we don't want to see all these three rows. We want to see only the rows where the count is greater than 2. So after group by, we will apply a condition. So the condition is count star. This column name is count star. So the condition is count star should be greater than 2. That will be printed. Let us see if it works. See, it shows error. The main reason is after group by, you cannot use where clause. If you want to use where clause, it should be before group by. After group by, you cannot use where clause. So what will you do? You know, after group by, you have to check this condition, but you cannot use the where clause. So here comes a new clause or new keyword. The keyword is having. So what will we do? We will use the having keyword instead of where. So having is like where, it works like where, but the main specialty of having is it is used after group by, because after group by you cannot use where clause. So let us see the output. See, now only these two rows have been shown. The last row, this row is not shown because the count is not greater than 2. So this is how you can use the aggregate functions with group by, and you can use the where clause with group by, and also having with group by. So the difference between where and having with group by is, if you want to filter before grouping, then you will use where clause before group by, and if you want to filter after grouping, then you will use having after group by. That's the main difference.